Okay, good afternoon. My name is Amelia from Simanungkalit, and today I will present a presentation about current perspective in educational psychology. My student number is 06 011 2818 Okay, much of the research in educational psychology has been conducted in classroom settings. It involves a broad range of related topics, including children's learning and abilities, classroom processes, and teacher effectiveness. Educational psychology has been described as a discipline uniquely focused upon the systematic study of the individual in context. From a pedagogical perspective, educational psychology differs from most fields of psychology in that it is most often found as a separate department in universities and colleges. Next slide, please. Current presentations of the field. Chapters were organized to represent the major domains within the discipline. The following domains were covered: learning and transfer, motivation, physical and psychological, development, intelligence, exceptionality, psychology of learning within subject matters, assessment, processes of teacher growth and development, the psychology underlying instructional strategies, educational technology, and the methodological, philosophical, and historical foundations of the field. Next slide, please. Sociocultural and cross-cultural contexts were introduced as important factors influencing learning and cognition. So the about this volume, distinctiveness of this volume, published early in the 21st century, this volume looks toward the new century and considers how the discipline of educational psychology will shape the next generation of learners and teachers. Three immediate contextual factors have begun to influence the evolving role of educational psychology in educational practice. Next slide, please. Overview of this volume. 5 major domains of contemporary research in educational psychology are identified in this volume. Within the part entitled Cognitive Contribution to Learning, Development, and Instruction, and the second is sociocultural, instruction, and relational processes. The third is curriculum application. The fourth is exceptional learners, programs, and students. And the last is educational programs, research, and policy. Next slide, please. Cognitive contributions to learning, development, and instruction. First is contemporary theories of intelligence. In addition to theories, a major emphasis in this field of inquiry was its measurement, which continues to occupy a significant place in the study of intelligence. Intelligence-related abilities permeate many areas of society. The second is memory and information processing. In the 1950s, information processing theories provided an alternative to behaviorism and offered a rebirth for cognitive psychology. A major premise underlying information processing theory is that the human mind seeks to build and manipulate mental representation, and that these cognitive processes can be accessed and studied through psychological responses and more and more recently by using introspective interviews and other learning-based observation. The third is self-regulation and learning. Chung and Zimmerman in this volume discuss discuss the role of self-generated or self-directed activities that students use during learning. This notion strongly suggests that students are actively constructing and exercising control over their learning and social goals. Five theoretical perspectives are reviewed that help characterize work within this area: operant theory, information processing theory, development theory, social constructivist theory, and social cognitive theory. Uh, mm, the next is metacognition and learning. Clear distinctions are made between metacognition and self-regulation. Metacognition is viewed as one aspect of the larger concept of self-regulation. Theoretical issues that have driven researchers over the years are presented, as well as the current unresolved debate. Research paradigms used to assess such abilities are reviewed, including feeling of knowing, such as judgment, and judgment after retracement. The last is motivation and learning. Rather than review separate motivational theories for general outcomes and three key theoretical constructs that cut across theories are highlighted to build a more integrative synthesis of current work in the field. The four motivational outcomes include: A. Why individuals choose one activity over another. B. Why individuals become more or less involved in a task either overtly. C. Why individuals persist on a task or are willing to try hard. And D. What is motivational construct contribute to learning and achievement. Next slide, please. Instructional, interpersonal, and relational preferences. The first is socio-cultural context for teaching and learning. Social and cultural contexts are important considerations for the understanding of learning and development. The influence of Scotty in the latter part of the 20th century has provided a scaffold for the development of theories of language acquisition, writing, assessment, concept formation, and other domains of learning. The second, teaching processes in elementary and secondary education. Frizzy and his colleagues review and synthesize the research on what makes effective teachers. Critical to teaching and learning outcomes is the motivation of the learners. The manner in which teachers motivate students to engage in learning-related activities is an important variable in determining teacher effectiveness. Next is cooperative learning. The researchers move beyond a review that establishes the effectiveness of cooperative learning to focus more specifically on conditions under which it is optimally effective. The work in this area primarily has been framed within four theoretical perspectives: motivational, social presence, cognitive, and developmental perspectives. Next is relationships between teachers and children. Pianta, Hamre, and Stroman assert that classroom research on teacher processes and teacher-student relationships has moved far beyond its original focus on teachers and students' expectations and instructional interactions. Classroom discipline and management, socially mediated learning, school belonging and caring, and teacher support. Next is school adjustment. An ecological approach is adopted as a framework to understand how students formulate goals that result in social integration and personal social competence defined by motivation of social goal pursuit, behavioral competence, and interpersonal relationships, and focuses on how this affects form a profile or interrelated competencies that are directly related to academic achievement. Educational psychology researchers have been at the forefront of work identifying what motivates and mediates such personal goals, the impact of this on personal and school adjustment, and the classroom factors that support and promote the expression of this attribute. And the last is gender issues in the classroom. Researchers have shown that the socialization of boys and girls promotes gender stereotypes that in many cases are supported by classroom practices. The work of educational psychologists and others has begun to address the content of the formal curriculum, classroom interaction, and classroom climate that promote gender equity. Next slide, please. Curriculum application. The first is early childhood education. Research in early childhood education has grown dramatically over the last 2 decades in concert with our increased knowledge about the significance of the birth to five period. The fact that there has not been a chapter on early childhood education in any prior handbook of psychology was duly noted. Second is psychology of literacy and literacy instruction. Perhaps no other single educational issue has received as much national and international attention as literacy development. Firstly, reviews that enter more multidimensional domain of literature by focusing on issues most directly influenced and studied by psychologists and educational psychologists. And next is mathematics learning. Lehrer and Lesch formulate and present rationale that describes the development of conversational arguments, including such concepts as analogy and the development of relations, conditions, and reasoning, and how this provide roots to the formulation of marks on paper and other media is described as a mediator of mathematics learning. Next is computers, the internet, and new media technologies for learning. The researchers review the dynamic field of new and emerging medias and technologies that have the potential of creating unique, possibly until now unforgettable, um, sense of research in educational psychology. Next slide, please. Next is exceptional learner programs and students. The first is school psychology. So, school psychology is a field of psychology that is closely aligned with educational psychology. School, school psychology is an applied field of psychology. The second is learning disability. Learning, wait, Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Uh, okay. School psychology. School psychology is a field of psychology that is closely aligned with educational psychology. School psychology is an applied field of psychology. And next is learning disabilities. Learning disabilities represent one of the most prevalent forms of learner problem. It is also a field of study that is rife with controversy as to classification, assessment, and intervention. It is also a domain that crosses over a wide range of professional and research perspectives. Educators, psychologists, neurologists, that is pediatricians, neuropsychologists, and others. Next is gifted education programs and procedures. Gifted students are a heterogeneous group whose members differ from each other in their developmental pathways and in their distinct profiles of ability. At the same time, researchers have consistently convinced that stability of exceptional abilities over time, difficulties associated with assessing younger children, and the limitations of traditional and standardized intelligence measures are discussed. Next is school-related behavior disorders. The field of behavior disorders in children and adolescents has emerged as a major focus of psychologists, teachers, administrators, state and federal governments, and the general public. Next slide, please. Educational programs, research, and policy. Educational psychology has had a significant role in the development and reform of educational practices. An important contribution of educational psychology is the knowledge and guidance provided to the education of teachers. Educational psychology acts as the conduit to introduce and apply research and principles of psychology to educational practice. The role of educational psychologists will continue to be an important and credible force in resolving ongoing controversies critical to the advancement and advancement and application of knowledge for educational purposes. Okay, so that's my explanation. If you have any question, you can ask me.
Davina, please.
Okay, Davina, you can ask.
Okay, Amel, my question is, in your opinion, what's the relation between psychology and education? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Davina. I will answer it directly. Um, education with psychology has some relation. Um, so in education, the teacher needs to know. The teacher needs to know the students better because the students will spend their time with the teacher. So if the teacher can understand their students, the students will feel some kind of burden, and they will every time they try to learn something about something from the teacher, they will feel so heavy. So it will affect the teaching and learning processes. And So that's why that's the relation between education and psychology because the teacher needs to know the behavior and the psychological thing of their students. I think that's it. That's my answer. Did I answer your question, Davina?
Yes, Amel, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Davina. Okay, any other questions?
Asha.
Okay, Aisha, you can ask.
So my question is, uh, why are the socio-cultural and cross-cultural being the important factors that influencing learning and cognition?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Aisha. I will answer it directly. What is socio-cultural and cross-cultural context? Well, in learning and cognition, to influence the learning activities, socio-cultural because the how the teacher and not even the teacher and the students only, even between the students too, there will be some students that have different cultures. So socio-cultural and cross-cultural um, are important factors for the learning activity and cognition because in the activity they need to know each other. They need to know each other. Their culture, not just about the thing about the learning or the learning material is not only about that in the learning activity. They will try uh, to be closer to their friends, or even the teacher will try to get closer to their students. So socio-cultural and cross-cultural make an important part in learning and teaching. I guess that's it. Did I answer your question, Aisha?
No, thank you. Thank you for the answer.
Okay, thank you, Aisha. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, dear.
Okay, my question is this educational psychology can make a better relationship between teachers and students?
Uh, okay. Okay, thank you, dear, for your question. Can this educational psychology make the relationship between teacher and student better? Okay. Well, like what I answer with Devina's question before, uh, in education, teacher need to know what happened with the students and they need to know the things about their students. So with this thing, it will make the teachers try to get closer to the students, and the students will feel like they will feel some kind of comfortable feeling. So they will feel like um, the teacher know them. The teacher knows them well. So, of course, it will make the relationship between the teachers and the students better. I guess that's my answer. Did I answer your question?
Yes, Amel. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all my presentation. I'm so sorry for any other for the technical problems. And thank you for listening to my presentation. Good afternoon.